weather. We are glad you're here. I'm Garcia Micaeli.
And good morning, I'm Dave Clark. It's Thursday. We call it Friday Eve.
Okay.
It's October 30th, and it's cooler outside, guys.
I noticed.
You're okay with it?
I'm all right with it. I like
But yesterday was better.
Yesterday was better.
okay.
You know me.
That's all right. Today we'll get back into some warmer temps, so we head into the weekend, especially Sunday. But big fog bank has returned. That's going to drop temps a lot here today. Low cloud, there you go. Yesterday was clear. Coast was clear. Not today. There's a lot of low clouds, so upper 40s, 50s on the temps here. So San Rafael, Oakland, Menlo Park, Santa Clara, all pointing down today. 74, 68, 73, and 74. On the forecast. You can see the gray there, a lot of gray just spilling in and filling in on the coast. So it's a cool change, that's for sure. Low clouds in place. If you're far enough inland, don't have to deal with it. But it'll be cooler today. Temperatures coming down, still a little bit above average to slightly below coast in the city. All right, Sal's here at 7 o'clock, and he tells us what?
Well, we have some slow traffic out there. Going to start in the South Bay, Steve. We do have some slow traffic this morning in San Jose. As you can see, the traffic there is going to be okay if you are driving on 101, but there's some slowing as you approach the old Oakland Road exit because of some earlier issues. So give yourself plenty of time. We're also looking at the other side of the bay, Highway 4, kind of a longer backup. We had a crash near Willow Pass Road, and that's onto the shoulder, but traffic is already a little bit slow. At the Bay Bridge, we have backup to the maze. 7:01. Let's get back to the headlines.
Thank you, Sal. Well, it's not the scale of the recent brazen daytime robbery of the Louvre, but a museum heist all the same. This time here at home. Investigators with Oakland Police and the FBI say thieves stole more than 1,000 artifacts from the Oakland Museum of California. It happened earlier this month. Our Ali Rasmus live to explain, Ali, why we're just now learning about it.
Garcia, the Oakland Museum of California, Oakland Police, and the FBI are now asking for the public's help to find some of the items we're showing you here. They include jewelry, old photographs, some Native American baskets. During the overnight hours of October 15th, burglars broke into an off-site facility for the museum and stole as many as 1,000 artifacts in the collection. Now, this happened 2 weeks ago, and museum's leaders say Oakland Police didn't want to publicize what happened initially because they were afraid of compromising the investigation. And while they won't say if the investigation's now hit a dead end, they are asking for the public's help to keep an eye out for these stolen items.
These are items that could end up in a local antique store, in a swap meet, in an unlikely place. We're not even sure that the thieves knew exactly what they had.
Now, stealing from a museum is a federal crime, which is why, along with the Oakland Police, the FBI is involved in this investigation. The FBI Crime Art Team is a specialized group of about 20 agents in the U.S. who work on cases related to art and antiquities. Anyone who recognizes some of the stolen items pictured should contact Oakland Police and the FBI. Back to you.
All right. Ali, thank you. Well, 5 more people were arrested in France in connection with the theft of the crown jewels at the Louvre Museum in Paris. But the stolen treasures themselves, they're still missing. The 5 suspects were detained last night in Paris. One is suspected of being part of the 4-person team of burglars that robbed the Apollo Gallery at the Louvre. 2 others were arrested Sunday with preliminary charges of theft by an organized gang and criminal conspiracy. Well, early morning raids in Oakland that targeted several Sueño gang members who were wanted for crimes that include homicide, attempted homicide, and drug and weapons charges.
KTVU's Andre Sr. here with details of what was a years-long investigation.
Garcia, Dave, good morning to you both here. The FBI says it made 6 arrests early yesterday morning, but by the afternoon, 9 men had been indicted on federal charges. Our crew was there as the FBI swarmed an apartment in Oakland's Upper Diamond neighborhood. They spent time going through multiple vehicles parked on Colma Street as well. The FBI says it made at least 1 arrest at this location. In all, they say they arrested 6 people in Oakland yesterday. It's part of a federal racketeering crackdown targeting the gang. The 9 men who were indicted are linked to 2 homicides dating back to 2019, as well as 3 attempted homicides, attempted robbery, and drugs and weapons trafficking. We talked to a legal expert who told us because these men are facing federal charges, the stakes are much higher.
It's not state time because this is a task force type approach. They have been charged federally. They'll be doing federal time. And so it really is a serious matter. In this case, they will do the bulk of the time in a federal prison. And that federal prison may not be local.
KTVU has learned one of the defendants was already in custody and charged with a separate murder for allegedly shooting his girlfriend while she was sleeping with their young child. And all 8 of the 9 men are now behind bars, while 1 is still on the run this morning. Oakland police were also out at the scene in the Upper Diamond neighborhood yesterday. The department plans to discuss the arrest later today. In their release, they say the gang members arrested may be linked to as many as 24 homicides. Garcia?
Andre, thank you. The clock is ticking for the 42 million Americans who rely on federal food benefits known as SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. The Agriculture Department says it'll run out of money to fund the program beginning Saturday due to the government shutdown. Some of the nation's most vulnerable rely on the program, including more than 500,000 people here in the Bay Area. Nearly 40% are children, 20% are seniors, 10% are people with disabilities. Senate Democrats introduced a bill to continue to fund SNAP benefits. It did not pass.
This president is a liar. He says there's no money to provide food stamps because of the shutdown. That's his own agriculture department said there's plenty of money.
SNAP recipients shouldn't go without food. People should be getting paid in this country. And we've tried to do that 13 times.
Democrats are still holding out for a deal that extends Affordable Care Act subsidies. Republican lawmakers say President Trump is willing to sit down with Democrats next week to talk about health care, but only if they vote to reopen the government.
Our time is now 7:06. Well, more than 5 million people across California have already voted in California's special election with just 5 days until Election Day. The consulting firm Political Data Inc. says so far 22% of ballots have been returned. Right now, Democrats have returned more ballots than all other voters. Local election officials say they've been gathering ballots from drop boxes around the Bay Area.
They can use our drop boxes, they can drop it in the mail, or they can go to one of our vote centers. We have about 230,000 votes in so far, representing a little over 20% of our voters.
I think we're doing the right thing by putting it to a vote versus what Texas is doing and they're just like passing it without letting the citizens vote whether they want it or not.
Well, new polls suggest a majority of the voters do support Prop 50. In a survey by the Public Policy Institute of California, 56% of likely voters said they support the measure to temporarily redraw California's congressional maps. 2/3 of voters also said the outcome of next week's special election is very important.
There's growing concern among some voters in rural communities statewide over Prop 50 ahead of next week's special election. The measure would temporarily give state lawmakers the power to redraw our state's congressional map. Some opponents, including farmers, warn the new maps would strip the political influence of rural populations.
This is one of the most blatant attacks on California's farming community that I can remember. That's why it's important to keep our communities of interest together with a strong, solid voice in Washington, D.C.
But Prop 50, it carves up rural counties like ours, forcing us into oversized districts mashed together with booming urban and suburban areas hundreds of miles away. Fewer chances to sit face to face, share our struggles, and build real understanding. That's not representation, that's isolation.
Prop 50 supporters argue the measure is necessary for fairer representation following national political changes. They point out significantly more people live in California's urban areas than in rural areas.
Time now 7:08, and we do have a backup at the Bay Bridge. It's pretty robust. It's backed up from before the maze. Metering lights are on. No major issues there. Highway 4 is kind of slow. We had an earlier crash on Highway 4 westbound. Usually what happens is there's a crash, CHP gets out there, and they move it to the side, but that doesn't mean it's gone. It just means that people can drive by and take a look at it. Southbound 880, the same thing at Maury. We had a crash. Some of the vehicles are on the shoulder. We're slow from 238 into Fremont. And southbound 680, although it is not as bad as it was yesterday, we have some slowing through Pleasanton, getting through the Sunol grade. At 7:09, Let's go back to the desk.
All right, Sal, thank you. Well, the money is running out for millions of Americans who depend on food assistance benefits during the government shutdown. We'll tell you about an East Bay nonprofit that's increasing its efforts to feed people in need.
Plus, deals made between President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping, the result of the meeting with the man President Trump called a longtime friend.
Jacoby & Myers has been a proud part of the California community since 1972. We've stood by our neighbors, helping hundreds of thousands of families get the justice they deserve. Whether it's fighting insurance companies or fighting for you in court, we'll stand up for you. At Jacoby & Myers, we know the stakes, your family, your health, your future. For over 50 years, we've been California's trusted name in legal care. If you've been injured, call us today at 1-800-5-MILLION, because you deserve justice.
Welcome back to Mornings on 2. It's now 7:13. Here's some of the top stories we're following today. Tonight, the San Francisco Unified School District will hold a town hall meeting about its budget. One topic that's expected to come up is whether the school district plans to cut jobs and will schools be closed. While no decisions are expected this school year, the school district is facing budget shortfalls in the future. Tonight's town hall begins at 6 o'clock at Mission High School. Police in Livermore are investigating a burglary at a gun store. It happened early Saturday morning. Surveillance video shows the thieves ramming a car through the front doors of the gun store. The co-owner of the store told KTVU 3 masked men wearing hoodies stole 28 handguns and 4 other weapons valued at more than $40,000. And President Trump is ordering the Pentagon to start testing nuclear weapons again. The president posted that on his Truth social media during the last stop of his tour of Asia. He says the process would start immediately. The president says he gave the order because of, quote, other countries' testing programs, specifically China and Russia. The U.S. has not tested one of its nuclear weapons since 1992.
Meanwhile, President Trump says there is movement toward a new trade deal with China. He met with Chinese President Xi Jinping for nearly 2 hours in South Korea today. KTVU's Doug Luzader has details on what the president, Doug, is calling an amazing conversation.
According to the president, both China and the United States are taking a step back from an all-out trade war, and he says a signed trade agreement may not be far behind.
President Trump boarding Air Force One for the long flight home from South Korea, wrapping up this trip with a flourish, he says.
Overall, I guess on the scale from 0 to 10, with 10 being the best, I would say the meeting was a 12. Good to see you again.
That was a reference to his headline-grabbing meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. And behind that handshake, apparently, were some concessions on both sides.
It's a great honor to be with a friend of mine, really for a long time now.
The niceties aside, both sides lowered the temperature, with China agreeing to buy U.S. soybeans and allow the export of rare earth elements.
We do not always see eye to eye with each other.
And while Xi noted the ongoing tension, the U.S. agreed to lower some of the Trump administration's tariffs put in place to get China to stop selling chemicals used to make fentanyl.
Based on his statements today, I reduced it by 10%, so it's 10% instead of 20% effective immediately. I believe he's going to work very hard to stop the death that's coming in.
But there are some skeptics who have seen Xi fall short time and time again.
We do not want to be Charlie Brown kicking the football with Lucy, because Xi Jinping has pulled that football back multiple times from multiple American presidents, and it's got to stop.
And President Trump says he plans to visit China in April, with Xi coming into the U.S. at some point as well. Back to you guys.
All right, Doug Luzader in Washington. Thank you, Doug. Time is 7:16. Meantime, San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie is speaking about his recent conversation with President Trump that led to his decision not to send the National Guard to San Francisco. The mayor spoke at the last day of the TechCrunch Disrupt conference. He was asked about several topics, including the wave of emerging tech in San Francisco, and insisted he did not promise anything in return to President Trump.
People know that the president has a proclivity for deal making, and they wonder if you had to make any concession.
No, he absolutely not. No ask. He said in his post that he disagreed with calling off, but he was going to give us an opportunity, and we're going to be able to prove that we can take care of ourselves.
Now, Mayor Lurie says he told the president that San Francisco is, quote, on the rise. He said the TechCrunch conference is just an example of the kind of event that proves San Francisco is on an upswing.
7:18. Let's get out the door. South Castaneda, what does Thursday look like from your view?
Well, it looks pretty typical, Gossiette and Dave, at the Bay Bridge. Right now, we do have a bigger backup stretching beyond the maze, although it is not as bad as when we do have an incident or a crash on the bridge, for sure. So that's the glass half full thing going on. This is a look at Interstate 880. That looks okay. And if you're driving on Highway 4, we've had a couple of different crashes. Highway 4 is backed up out of Pittsburgh to Concord, and 880 southbound at Winton, there's a new crash. And the traffic is already slow there from 238 heading out to the Fremont area. Now at 7:18, let's bring Steve back in.
Sal, we'll start with San Francisco. Kind of interesting on the climate data today. 64.56 after 78 high yesterday. I originally went 78, then cut it to 76. Always stick with your first call. Always. I should have learned that by now. But average is 68.53. The record 84, 1949, 46. The record low 1935. It's the rainfall on this date. 1.69 fell in 1849. Why is that significant? Records began in San Francisco in 1849. That's a long-standing record. 1849 was a whopper of a rain year. October had over 3 inches of rain. November had over 8.5. December almost 6 1/4. January 8 1/3. The rain year, you go January 1849, 1850, from July 1st to June 30th, 33.10. October to January total was 26 1/3. March added another 4.5. What's ironic is the following rain year, 1850, 1851, was the driest ever. at only 7.42. How about that? So I thought that was cool stuff. We do have temperatures yesterday that rocketed up into the Garcia zone. That's 80s.
Yes.
Santa Rosa, Napa, Concord, Livermore, Oakland, Redwood City, SFO, all at 80, and then 80 to 83, and the city hit 78. Santa Fe, Oakland, Menlo Park, Santa Clara, down we go, 74, 68, 73, and 74 on the forecast highs. Fog is coming roaring back to the coast. It was clear yesterday, not today. 40s, 50s, mainly 50s, couple of 40s in there. More to the south, some mist drizzle might be in the mix as well for some. There's a deep fog bank out there. Boulder Creek's 46, Hollister's 46, Santa Cruz at 51, mid-50s around Santa Clara, Cupertino. 28 Truckee, 28 South Lake Tahoe, Reno, Carson City, and Minden all sleeping in. That's all right. The high gets knocked out today. Will be an okay weekend. It will start to rebound a little bit. It does look like November 6th. Forecast models are trying to bring some rain in here. So I would, we've been talking about that one for a couple of days. It's still on track. Fog returns for many, maybe some mist drizzle. Otherwise, it'll be a cooler, breezy day with 60s, 70s. We'll get a little rebound Friday and Saturday. It does look a smidge warmer on Sunday. Still nice Monday, but then starting to cool down early next week.
Steve, thank you. A regional effort to crack down on illegal dumping in the East Bay, how lawmakers are pushing back against the idea that only certain cities are affected, and the 2 steps that could make a big difference.
Also, San Francisco Mayor Lori's proposal to build more housing in San Francisco reportedly will not reach the goals set by the state. We have details of a report highlighting the shortcomings of the plan. Well, welcome back to Mornings on 2, and here's a live look from our Highway 4 camera run by the incomparable Kevin Pender. Looking towards the Delta in Pittsburgh, there's a nice beauty shot to get you started on a Thursday morning. There's also a new report out It says San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie's plan to build more housing won't do enough to meet the goals set by the state. The proposal would increase the allowed building heights on commercial streets and on transit lines. But a report from the city's Office of Economic Analysis says the rezoning plan would produce between 8,500 and 15,000 homes, which is less than half of the 36,000 the state requires San Francisco to build by the year 2031. Now, the mayor's press office released a statement. It said, too many parents are already afraid their kids won't be able to afford to live in San Francisco. Mayor Lurie's family zoning plan will help build the housing we need and meet our obligations under state law. We just need to get it done.
An RV parking ban is looming in San Francisco. Starting Saturday, RVs parked on streets for more than 2 hours could be towed. Meanwhile, the city has established a permit program for people living in their RVs. They can apply for a large vehicle refuge permit, which allows them to temporarily park in the city while being connected with more permanent housing. Only people who were part of a count done by city staff back in May are eligible for those permits. Meanwhile, there's a regional effort underway to help stop illegal dumping in the Bay Area. State and local leaders held a meeting in Oakland to find ways of working together to address illegal dumping. They released a report on solutions from a panel of experts. Alameda County Supervisor Nate Miley says while Oakland has long struggled with illegal dumping, it is a problem in other areas as well.
And illegal dumping, as Aaron said, has no bounds. You know, sometimes people just think it's concentrated in urban communities. No, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's in urban communities, suburban communities, rural communities.
The group said it's important to actually enforce existing dumping laws and use new camera technology to track down and find people who do the illegal dumping.
Well, yet another company is stepping in to help feed needy Americans during the government shutdown. We'll tell you how recipients of SNAP can get $50 off their groceries starting this Saturday.
And if you hate doing housework, there is a robot that can help. What it'll cost to make this a member of your family and how you can try it out for a whole lot less.
Good morning. A county-wide food drive kicking off in the East Bay aimed at helping to feed people in danger of losing their SNAP benefits. We'll tell you how you can help as millions of Americans are scrambling to fill the gap left by the ending of that food assistance help. And Oakland city leaders are listening to the public, getting tips on how to improve Oakland. The changes the city is considering making.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Well, good morning. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us on Mornings on 2. I'm Dave Clark.
I'm Gassia Mikaelian. It is Thursday, October 30th. Let's swing out to the Weather Center, see what our Steve Paulson is looking for when it comes to today and then tomorrow.
Is there something happening tomorrow?
There is. Millions of children do not want to put on a jacket to cover up their costume tomorrow, Steve Paulson.
I think they'll be all right.
Okay.
Here. We'll take a look here. Mostly clear is the way it looks, unless something changes here. I go 6, 8, and 10 because sunset is at 6:11. But I think it will be 60s, 70s, and we'll drop pretty fast, and nothing unusual about it. At least it won't be raining. For us, low clouds, and there's a big fog bank, maybe a little mist drizzle out there, and the result will be cooler and breezy for your Thursday after a warm Wednesday, that's for sure. 49 Livermore, 49 Palo Alto, 50s. The city has dropped to 55. I have to fix that. San Rafael, Oakland, Menlo Park, and Santa Clara all down after 82 was popular yesterday, 60s and 70s today. We'll see a slow rebound tomorrow. Fog, though, is come roaring back, so it'll be a noticeable change, a cool change today as the low clouds are in place. So fog returns. It sticks near the coast, mostly sunny, breezy, cooler, 60s and 70s on those temps. All right, Sal is here, 7:31, a freeway, a bridge. We're off to where first?
Well, we're off to a freeway because 880 is slow. We had a crash at Winton Avenue in Hayward, southbound. That's on the shoulder, but we have slow traffic there, and 680 is slow. It's not as slow as yesterday when we had those issues, but definitely it is slow. We do have looks like a new crash, westbound 580 at North Livermore Avenue. That one just came in, and traffic is not even backed up yet, so we'll see. We have been looking at the toll plazas of the bridge. I don't see anything right now that's unusual, but it is backed up before the maze here at the Bay Bridge Toll Plaza. 7:31. Let's go back to the desk.
All right, Sal, thank you. Well, millions of Americans are another stage closer to losing their food assistance benefits. One Bay Area nonprofit group says now's the time to step up and help people who depend on SNAP and CalFresh programs. KTVU's James Torres is in Concord to tell us and show us about a program that's in effect to keep families afloat. Good morning, James.
Hey, good morning to you, Dave. Well, Concord is the headquarters for the White Pony Express. It's a local nonprofit food recovery program here in the Bay Area. They are now launching a much larger effort to try to help feed some families in Contra Costa County, especially those who are most in need. Supplemental Nutrition Assistance, or SNAP benefits, are in rough shape, and they help roughly about 5.5 million people in California pay for their groceries. In the state, we call that CalFresh. If the government shutdown continues through the weekend, federal funding for those programs will run out. That's where White Pony Express comes in. They say they are making sure the impacts to people in the East Bay are kept to a minimum. The nonprofit announced a countywide food drive that starts now and is in effect until the end of February. They say it's meant to support neighbors affected by the suspension of CalFresh. It's the latest of Bay Area cities mitigating the effects of the government shutdown. In San Francisco, for example, the city announced it would cover the cost of SNAP benefits for people who need it for the entire month of November. At last check, there still seems to be no compromise between lawmakers and Congress, therefore no end in sight for the government shutdown. Those SNAP and CalFresh benefits will begin to lapse starting this weekend. We're live this morning in Concord. I'm James Torres, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
James, thank you. Another grocery delivery service is stepping in to help people who are expected to lose their federal food assistance. GoPuff is offering SNAP recipients $50 off groceries through the month of November in the form of two separate $25 off promotions. Users must link a SNAP EBT card to their GoPuff account before checkout and then add the code SNAPRelief1 to their cart.
Our time now 7:34. The Council on American Islamic Relations very concerned about anti-religious violence and intolerance. Today, the California chapter of CARE will release its 2025 bullying report documenting faith-based bullying and discrimination of Muslim students across California. The findings reveal that Muslims are bullied twice the national average. It also says many students choose not to report these incidents. They stay at home rather than be harassed at school. Time is 7:34. Oakland city leaders are asking the public how they can improve the city of Oakland. Mayor Barbara Lee kicked off a series of listening sessions. The goal is to get feedback from residents to see if they're happy with the current power structure of city leaders or if they want to amend the city charter, which outlines the power and the role of the mayor, the city manager, and city council. If the sessions reveal that residents want to change to the current structure, an advisory group created by the mayor will draft a 2026 ballot measure with those suggested changes.
Do we want a hybrid that currently exists for the charter where the mayor and the council have separation of powers, but they're kind of blend and nobody really in charge, or to have a strong form of mayor government, or to have a city council, mayor council with a city administrator form of government?
Now, there are 7 more listening sessions scheduled across Oakland's other districts. The next one is scheduled Wednesday night at St. Mary's Center with Council member Carol Fife.
Police in Livermore are investigating a burglary at a gun store. It happened shortly before 4 a.m. on Saturday. Surveillance video shows a group of people ramming a car into the glass doors of East Bay Firearms. The co-owner of the store tells KTVU 3 masked men in hoodies stole 28 handguns and 4 long guns worth more than $40,000. The business has been targeted by criminals twice before in recent years. The owner says it is staying put.
I'm frustrated with our justice system, the way that these criminals keep getting out. They will steal and commit crimes, and they're back out on the street 3 months later with a slap on the wrist.
The owners say the 2 cars used in the burglary are stolen. The ATF and police are investigating. Anyone with information is asked to call law enforcement. Now to Hurricane Melissa. More than 24 people are dead, others still missing across Cuba, Haiti, and Jamaica after the storm tore through the Caribbean. In Cuba, officials say the storm has left a trail of destruction, tearing roofs off of buildings, collapsing houses, and blocking critical mountain roads with debris and landslides. As the storm made landfall, some 250,000 people went to government-run evacuation centers across the island for safety.
Meantime, in Jamaica, more than half the island still has no power this morning after Hurricane Melissa. The storm made landfall Tuesday as a Category 5 and then hit Cuba yesterday as a Category 3. Homes across Jamaica have been seriously damaged. And in Haiti, officials say rushing waters from an overflowing river killed more than 24 people. That number may go higher in the coming days.
All right, 7:37, back to our traffic center.
Yeah.
Let's see if things have changed significantly since last we talked, Sal.
They haven't, Gasia and Dave. It's still very busy out there. Let's go right to the Bay Bridge. I want to show you it's backed up before the maze, but it's not affected by anything at the toll plaza or on the bridge. It is a little bit slow. You can see that if you're driving on 880 heading north, which is on the right there, you can see that it's getting a little slower after the Coliseum into downtown. Highway 4 has been slow solid from Pittsburgh to Concord, and then we've had improving conditions, believe it or not, between Hayward and Fremont. It's slow where it normally is, but it was slower before. San Mateo and Dumbarton Bridge are also pretty slow this morning as you cross the bay there. 7:38, let's talk about today's weather. Here's Steve.
Hold on, you said the Dumbarton slow?
I know, right?
Don't say that too often. Thank you,
know.
sir. All right. Climate data, San Francisco today. Oh, there you go, looking at sunrise, Mount Diablo. Low cloud blanket is back. Yesterday was clear, not this morning. San Francisco climate data is a good one today. 64.55 high low, average is 68.53. 84 record high in 1949, 46 1935. This is the big one. Record rainfall 1.69, 1849. San Francisco weather records officially were only a couple of months old. Weather records started in 1849, 1850. Records began 1849. October had over 3 inches of rain. November 1849, 8.66. December 1849, 6.20. January 1850, 8.34. The rain year total, July 1st to June 30th, with a whopping 33.10. October to January totaled 26 1/3, with March 1850 adding 4.53. What's ironic about that is the following year, 1850-51, was the driest ever in San Francisco's recorded history, with only 7.42. So out of the gate like a front runner, and then just said, I'm done the following year. Yesterday was all about some 80s here. Santa Rosa, it might have been warmer where you live, I get it, but these are the official temps. Santa Rosa, Napa, Concord, Livermore, Oakland, Redwood City, and SFO, 80 to 83, and the city did hit 78. San Rafael, Oakland, Menlo Park, Santa Clara, all in the 80s as well. Today it's 60s and 70s on the temps. We're cooling off. Big fog bank has returned. It'll probably linger into tomorrow, but we'll get a little pop on the temps tomorrow, more so probably over the weekend. But by Sunday, remember, we fall back. It's tough to get too warm when it gets dark at 5 o'clock. 50s on the temps, a few 40s in there, 20s up in the mountains. There you go. Reno, Carson City, and Minden are back now with 20s and 30s. The ridge will weaken today, and we'll have a nice weekend. Looks like the 6th. I've been talking about it. Still looks like it's on track. We'll see if they change their tune. We'll deal with it early next week, but that would be our next rain. A cool change today. Some low clouds, maybe a little mist out there, drizzle. Otherwise, mostly sunny. Cooler is the main message. 60s, 70s on the temps. Tomorrow looks like a little rebound, maybe a little bit more Saturday. Sunday by far will be the warmest day, although it won't last long. And then still nice, but trending a little cooler early next week.
All right, Steve, thank you. We'll move over. Roomba, a Bay Area company, just launched a full-size humanoid robot for the home. We'll get deeper into this in a minute with Pam in Dollars and Cents.
But for now, we want to hear from you about this. So here's what we're asking. Would you trust a robot in your house to do your chores? Here are your options. Yes. Sign me up. Garcia would say that.
No, actually, I wouldn't.
No?
No, I know. I'm going to surprise you.
Okay.
I'll tell you why in a second. Go ahead, though.
Here's the no part. It's just too creepy.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
Well, look, go to ktvu.com/vote and start voting. We want to hear from you. So, no.
It's just one more thing to manage. It's one more, manual I have to read, one more thing I have to program. I'll just do it myself, Dave.
All right. Well, look at people voting now as we go to break. One more look at that poll. And don't forget, you can scan the QR code in the top right-hand corner of the screen. It'll take you to our poll.
7:44, some of the top stories we're following today. President Trump is touting what he calls a successful meeting with China's President Xi Jinping. They met for several hours at the Economic Summit in South Korea. President Trump says the two world leaders made several deals. This includes China agreeing to buy American soybeans and lowering tariffs that were implemented earlier in the year. The U.S. government shutdown continues, no end in sight. Democrats are still holding out for a deal that extends Affordable Care Act subsidies. Republican lawmakers say President Trump is willing to sit down next week with Democrats to talk about health care, but only if Democrats vote to reopen the government. The Agriculture Department says it'll run out of money to fund SNAP benefits this Saturday due to the government shutdown. Some of the nation's most vulnerable rely on the program, including more than 500,000 people here in the Bay Area. Nearly 40% are children, 20% are seniors. 10% are people with disabilities.
All right, our time is 7:45. Here's a question. I kind of know how you feel.
Yeah.
Are you ready to have a robot to help you fold your laundry?
You have to see the video first. Pam Cook has the
Yeah.
video talking about the new technology on the way, also tracking tech stocks that are impacting Wall Street today.
Yeah, technology is everywhere. It's an
Yeah.
interesting one. We'll see that in a second. The tech rally turned into a tech drop this morning, led by Microsoft and Meta. Both companies posted disappointing quarterly earnings, and analysts posted concerns about spending. On that news, all three market indexes dropped as that opening bell rang initially this morning. Google's parent company Alphabet posted a good quarter. That's bucking the trend. That stock is up along with many of the big banking stocks, possibly because of the anticipated increase in mortgage loans as interest rates start to drop a bit. As we take a live look at the numbers, though, the Nasdaq still down pretty big, about 200 points, 0.75% there. The S&P 500 down 0.25%. The Dow Jones, though, has turned around as investors rotate out of technology, maybe investing in some of those big name, big cap stocks, and the Dow Jones is up about 300 points. The Federal Reserve announced an interest rate cut of 0.25%. That means rates will be at the lowest point in 3 years now. Consumers are hoping for another rate cut at the board's next meeting, but right now, Fed Chair Jerome Powell says he is not sure if that will happen. He says current conditions, including the government shutdown, is making it difficult for the Fed to predict the country's economic future. General Motors is laying off more than 1,700 employees across the electric vehicle manufacturing sites in Michigan and Ohio. GM blames the cuts on a slowdown in demand for electric vehicles. The car maker is also pausing production temporarily and implementing layoffs at its battery production facilities to allow for facility upgrades and to adjust to the current market. Well, here's that robot. Palo Alto-based robotics company 1X launched a home robot this week, and you can order it now. 1X says its robot Neo is the world's first consumer-ready humanoid robot. Take a look. It's designed to automate everyday chores with the touch of a button. It can fold laundry, organize shelves, tidy up a bit. Pre-orders are available now, and the first deliveries are scheduled for next year. The robots cost $20,000 to own, but there is a subscription model as well for $500 a month. I'm in the no, thank you. That's a little creepy.
I knew it.
It's a little creepy. Weigh in. I don't want something like that wandering around my home, but let us know what you think. I'm Pam Cook. That's a look at your dollars and cents.
Just think what it would hear you say, you know,
right.
in the home to your loved ones. All right.
All of the above.
I agree, Pam. All right, so while you may be seeing a lot of scary spider imagery around your neighborhood this Halloween season, scientists say they are vital to the success of the ecosystem and could even help unlock future medical innovations. Fox's Ted Linder reports.
While Halloween is known for scares, decorations of creepy crawlies donning homes and properties may prove extra frightful for people who have arachnophobia, an intense and irrational fear of spiders. And according to data from the Cleveland Clinic, roughly 3 to 15% of the population suffers from it. But researchers at Arizona State University are shining a positive light on spiders this spooky season as they work to discover the secrets behind their silk.
Most spiders, on average, produce 6 to 7 different types of silk.
Weight for weight, experts say spider silk is at least 5 times as strong as steel. Spider silk is also flexible, making it optimal for helping to hold tissue together. And teams are exploring ways it can be used to advance health innovations like biomedical materials.
When you say silk, you're not just referring to one material. You're referring to a class of protein-based biopolymers.
Scientists are also unraveling how fibers produced from silkworms can promote faster wound recovery.
We're starting to take what we've learned at that very fundamental level and show how we can apply it in different health areas like wound healing, pharmaceutical, obvious things like textiles, making ultra-tough materials.
Researchers highlight how silk proteins can be turned into many different forms, including patches and pastes. Analysts say these can be adapted to cover different types of injuries, possibly reducing the need for a patient to get staples or stitches in the future. Ted Lindner, Fox News.
Very interesting, Ted.
They've made the case for spiders.
All right. Time now, 7:50. Sal will make a case on following his advice on how to get around. Sal?
All right. Well, we still have a lot of slow traffic out there in the East Bay this morning. Let's start with Interstate 880. It is pretty slow heading south as you drive from right at 238, and it continues almost all the way until Milpitas. So it is pretty slow. Southbound 680 and also Vallecillos Road, slow traffic there approaching the Sinol grade. And on the San Mateo and Dumbarton Bridge, we've had some slow traffic there as well. So these days, this is, the peak of the fall commute. We do have a lot of slow traffic out there, including at the Bay Bridge, which is backed up before the maze. 7:51, let's talk about today's weather. Here's Steve.
Sal, big change from yesterday when the coast was clear. Not today. There's a huge fog bank out there. Not a lot pushing inland. There's some, but 40s, 50s on the temps. It's noticeably cooler here, and it'll be that way after a lot of 80s yesterday, although not too much yet. Some locations running a little warmer due to the low cloud deck, but I think these will turn around and drop a good 5, 10, maybe more degrees by the time we get to this afternoon. 20s up in the mountains, 30 in Reno, 25 Alturas, 24 out there in Ely. Winnemucca at 29. The ridge high pressure weakening. That's allowing the door to open up to that bigger fog bank, although the bases are still pretty low. But it looks like after today we'll have a nice Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Still looks like around the 6th, some rain's coming in here. Forecast models continue to be kind of bullish on that and across the board. I haven't seen one change its tune yet. We'll see. We're still a couple days away, though. Fog returns for many. A little bit of mist, maybe drizzle embedded in there. Fog sticks near the coast. Mostly sunny. It'll be cooler, breezy, 60s, 70s. We'll see a slight rebound. Looks fine for Halloween night, Friday night. Looks good for Saturday. A little warmer Sunday, but remember, we fall back on our clock Sunday morning, so once you hit 80, it might last about a minute or two, then it'll start to cool down. Still nice early next week, but changes on the way, I think, by the middle of next week.
All right, Steve, thank you. Time is now 7:52. A new immigration rule now in effect up next at 8 o'clock. Why this move could push many people out of the U.S. workforce and the big impact it could have on Silicon Valley. And Halloween, one of the biggest events of the year in Santa Cruz, the police are getting ready for celebrations. The safety enhancement zone that residents and visitors should be aware of. Welcome back to Mornings on 2. It's now 7:55. Happening today. Nurses at a hospital in San Ramon are planning a one-day strike. The strike at San Ramon Medical Center is part of a bigger strike against 6 Tenet healthcare hospitals around the state. The nurses are protesting what they call serious concerns about safe staffing and patient care. Their demands include guaranteed breaks, a better recruitment and retention of experienced staff, and dedicated lift teams for patient safety. Now, the hospital says it will stay fully operational during this strike. San Ramon Regional Medical Center sent a statement. It reads in part, "We're disappointed that the union is taking this strike action, which in our view is not constructive or necessary. We have been negotiating in good faith with the union to reach a new contract and even proposed to the union that the parties engage in a mediation in an attempt to resolve any differences." Well, Good Samaritan Hospital in San Jose broke ground on a new patient care center in San Jose. The hospital is spending $1.3 billion on the project, the largest single investment in its history. The hospital will feature a new ER and operating room and 234 patient beds. There will also be expanded surgical and diagnostic areas with state-of-the-art technology.
It's always shined through for me in my visits here with my family has been the passion that the team here has for delivering high quality, compassionate care for those who come in and in those vulnerable moments.
Now, the hospital CEO says the new tower will also meet stringent seismic standards, allowing it to keep operating even after an earthquake. Construction is due to be completed in 2032. It is 7:57. An artist based in Sonoma County is getting recognition after being featured in a national calendar that features artists who only paint with their mouths and their feet. Alana Tillman has been painting since she was 5 without using her hands. She was born with a rare disorder which affected the development and use of her hands. As a child, she had to have several surgeries. She says learning to paint, it helped her cope during that time.
During that time of being in the hospital, I used art as like a healing mechanism and to kind of escape as well. You know, while the kids were, you know, running around in the cul-de-sac, I was in casts sometimes.
This year, one of Miss Tillman's pieces was selected to grace the U.S. edition of the Mouth and Foot Painting Artists Calendar. It's an association with more than 800 members around the world. If you want a copy of the calendar, we have a link on KTVU.com. Well, police in Santa Cruz are beefing up their patrols, preparing for Halloween. The police department setting up a citywide safety enhancement zone. It includes road closures, no parking zones in the downtown area. Parking fees are tripled for violations inside that zone. It includes alcohol-related and open container infractions. Santa Cruz police say they want to stop any illegal activities before they become too common.
We encourage people to come downtown and have a good time, but just behave appropriately and you know, keep in mind that we have a lot of kids out and be safe.
Now, the enhancement zone goes into effect beginning at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning and continue until Monday.
Well, the FBI on a mission to track down the people who stole over 1,000 artifacts from the Oakland Museum of California. What we know about the burglary and why federal agency is involved in the investigation. Plus,
unfortunately, tough decisions that need to be made on a daily basis.
Responding to the growing need for food assistance becoming a challenge for some organizations, we hear from one nonprofit about the strategies they're using to make sure families do not go hungry. And a safety net for foreign workers is being stripped away by a new federal rule. We'll talk with an immigration attorney about the change now in effect and how it could impact automatic work permit renewals.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
All right, welcome to Mornings On 2 at 8 o'clock. Look at those high clouds in the sky. The sun is out. A little bit of change in the weather today, but don't let that concern you too much as you get ready to go trick-or-treating this coming weekend. Thanks for joining us. I'm Andre Sr.
Good morning. I'm Gassia Mikhaelian, taking a quick peek out the back window on this Thursday, October 30th. It wasn't like this yesterday, Steve Paulson.
It was not. The coast was clear, and for your Friday, Saturday, I think we have a beautiful forecast for you.
Nice work, Steve. I got you. I got you. Got you.
Andre, thank you, sir. All right, let's get to it here. Mostly clear, cool. I think it'll be nothing scary about the forecast for tomorrow night or even on the weekend. Looks pretty good. We get a cool down today, though. Cooler Thursday. Big fog bank has returned. Most of it, though, is kind of favoring coast and bay. Not a lot in them, but there's some. And not only that, we're getting a little couple mist reports. 40s, 50s on the cities dropped to 55. Steve, you ever going to fix that? Yeah, one of these days. San Rafael, Oakland, Menlo Park, and Santa Clara dropping from 82 yesterday to 60s and 70s today. Fog bank came roaring back. System to the north certainly responsible. So it's a cool change today. Look for temperatures with that low cloud deck dropping temps on the coast big time there from the upper 70s, 80s yesterday to the low 60s today, 70s inland. All right, Sal's here. Well, we don't say this all the time, but there's a lot of traffic on the Dumbarton Bridge.
There is, and the Bay Bridge and the San Mateo Bridge too, and also on the Richmond Bridge. So the bridges are going to be slow, although there's some improvement going on the Bay Bridge right now. Some, very little, but at least it's not as bad as it was, but still backed up beyond the maze. You can see Interstate 880 is slow as you pass the Coliseum. And the Highway 4 is also still slow. Steve was talking about the Dumbarton Bridge being slow all the way across, and so is that San Mateo Bridge. 8:01, let's get back to the headlines.
Sal, thank you. The Oakland Museum of California and the FBI are asking for the public's help after someone stole as many as 1,000 artifacts from the museum's collection.
KTVU's Allie Rasmus here now to explain what we know about what happened here. Allie?
Well, during that overnight break-in that happened earlier this month, thieves stole a variety of items, from jewelry to Native American baskets to century-old photographs. Stealing from a museum is a federal crime, which is why, along with Oakland Police, the FBI is involved in this investigation. Now, these are some of the pictures of the stolen items. The morning of October 15th, museum staff arrived at an off-site storage facility for the Oakland Museum of California and realized it had been broken into. Laptops were gone, file cabinets and storage boxes rummaged through. This happened 2 weeks ago. Museum's leaders say Oakland Police didn't want to publicize what happened initially because they were afraid of compromising the investigation. And while they won't say if the investigation's hit a dead end now, we know that they are asking for the public's help to keep an eye out in case any of these artifacts end up at a pawn shop or an antique store.
The items that are of most concern to us are some jewelry, some native California baskets, and scrimshaw artifacts. So those are really what might be most identifiable to people as higher value and more kind of rarity. But it's an enormous loss to the museum.
Scrimshaw, by the way, are whale bones or ivory that have designs carved into them. We showed you some of those pictures a second ago. The museum CEO says they're not even sure if the thieves knew what they were taking or the value of the items they took. The Oakland Museum of California is the largest repository of California art, history, and natural sciences in the world. It has about 2 million pieces in its collection. So while 1,000 artifacts is a fraction of its total collection, the items are valuable, distinct, and recognizable. So anyone who spots them or sees them in a store or at a swap meet, they should contact Oakland Police and the FBI. Back to you.
Allie, thank you. Time now is 8:04. Food banks across California are preparing for a surge in demand following disruptions to CalFresh food assistance programs. One California nonprofit tells us about 40% of CalFresh recipients they serve also use other charitable food resources. In response to the growing need, they are adding emergency food distributions for the first 2 weeks of November.
I think there's a misconception that people that go to food banks are people that aren't working, and that is not true. These are working class individuals just like us that really just need that extra help to get through these times.
In San Francisco, more than 100,000 residents who are expected to lose their SNAP benefits will receive gift cards to shop for food. Half of the initiative's cost will come from a reserve that city leaders set up in this year's budget to help the local government address potential federal and state funding cuts. The rest will come from a nonprofit.
8:05 here. Starting today, automatic work permit extensions for certain immigrants are no longer available. The Department of Homeland Security says the new rule aims to prevent fraud. Immigrant rights advocates warn it may force out many of the workforce due to backlogs. Let's get some insight on the expected impact by turning, as we sometimes do, to Miriam Masumi Dowd, manager at Johnson & Masumi Law Firm. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, so the rule will affect a broad range of immigrants, including refugees and asylum seekers. What do you expect the immediate impact to be, perhaps here in the Bay Area?
Well, I think the immediate impact will be that if a person's work permit lapses and they don't any longer have the benefit of this 540-day extension, they will not be able to work. Prior to the implementation of this rule, individuals who filed for their work permits were still able to work legally for an additional 540 days until they waited for the Immigration Service to approve their work card. But now that this has been taken away, a person's going to have to stop once their work permit expires. And the reason this 540-day extension was put in the first place was because USCIS, the Immigration Service, had extensive backlogs in deciding these cases. So now the safety net is gone and people have to basically deal with the inefficiencies of the Immigration Service while they could be forced out of work.
The Department of Homeland Security says ending the automatic extensions will better enable the government to find fraud. What do you think of that reasoning?
To be honest, I don't think this is something that really goes into fraud because immigration laws are very clear that when a person is seeking an immigration benefit, they're entitled to that work authorization. It's something that they get when they're waiting for a decision on their case, whether that be for an asylum case or a green card case. So they don't really look into a person's background when issuing a work permit card. They look into a person's background when they're looking at the merits of their case. So unfortunately, this is something that I'm not really sure how they intend on achieving vetting and those things that they've referenced when it comes to a work permit card.
What should people who are or will be impacted do about this?
At this point, it's really important that they look at the work permit cards that they have and they file for a renewal within 180 days of the expiration of their card, ideally on that 180th day. That way they can ensure that they could get their work permit and avoid any processing delays.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Immigration attorney Miriam Masumi Dowd, thank you for your time.
Thank you again.
And we do have slow traffic this morning heading south as you drive past the 238 interchange. It's slow all the way down into Milpitas. Now, this is not unusual, but I just want to let you know it's there. We do have traffic also slow on Highway 4. It's looking like a typical commute. It's not too bad on Interstate 880. It is backed up, although it is loosening up at the Bay Bridge Toll Plaza. That's about a 30-minute plus delay, but things are getting better, and if you have a luxury of waiting around, it'll probably be better in the next half hour. 8:08, let's go back to the desk.
Thank you so much, Sal. Early voting well underway for Prop 50. What you need to know if you still haven't cast your ballot and what new polling reveals about whether it's expected to pass.
Then federal park rangers, including those at Muir Woods, left without a paycheck during this government shutdown. How one Marin County school is helping the furloughed workers bear the financial burden.
Jacoby & Myers has been a proud part of the California community since 1972. We've stood by our neighbors, helping hundreds of thousands of families get the justice they deserve. Whether it's fighting insurance companies or fighting for you in court, we'll stand up for you. At Jacoby & Myers, we know the stakes: your family, your health, your future. For over 50 years, we've been California's trusted name in legal care. If you've been injured, call us today at 1-800-5-MILLION, because you deserve justice.
Some of the stories we're following here at 8:12. President Trump is ordering the Pentagon to start testing nuclear weapons again. The president posted on Truth Social during the last stop of his Asia tour that the process would start immediately. The president says he gave the order because of other countries testing programs, specifically China and Russia. The United States has not tested its nuclear weapons since 1992.
5 more people have been arrested in connection to the theft of the crown jewels at the Louvre Museum, but the stolen treasures are still missing. The 5 were detained last night in Paris. One is suspected of being part of the 4-person team that robbed the Louvre's Apollo Gallery. 2 others were arrested Sunday and given preliminary charges of theft by an organized gang and criminal conspiracy.
Police in Livermore are investigating a burglary at a gun store. It happened early in the morning on Saturday. Surveillance video shows thieves ramming the car through the front door of the gun store. Co-owner told KTVU that 3 masked men wearing hoodies stole 28 handguns and 4 other weapons valued at more than $40,000. The clock is ticking for the 42 million Americans who rely on federal food benefits known as SNAP, Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. The Agriculture Department says it'll run out of money to fund the program beginning this Saturday due to the government shutdown. Some of the nation's most vulnerable rely on the program, including more than 500,000 people here in the Bay Area. Nearly 40% are children, 20% are seniors, 10% are people with disabilities. Senate Democrats introduced a bill to continue to fund SNAP benefits. It did not pass.
The president is a liar. He says there's no money to provide food stamps because of the shutdown. That's his own agriculture department said there's plenty of money.
SNAP recipients shouldn't go without food. People should be getting paid in this country. And we've tried to do that 13 times.
Democrats are still holding out for a deal that extends Affordable Care Act subsidies. Republican lawmakers say President Trump is willing to sit down with Democrats next week to talk about health care, but only if they vote to reopen the government. Furloughed park rangers from Muir Woods National Monument are bringing nature lessons to local students. The program is run by a company called Grasshopper Kids. According to the LA Times, rangers are paid $190 an hour to visit schools and teach students about the environment. The initiative gives rangers some income while the monument is closed during the shutdown. Despite the closures, partners have made some short-term donations to keep some parks, including Muir Woods, accessible.
Time now is 8:15. More than 5 million people across California have already voted in the state's special election with just 5 days until Election Day. Consulting firm Political Data Inc. says so far 22% of ballots have been returned. Right now, Democrats have returned more ballots than all other voters. Local elections officials say they've been gathering ballots from drop boxes around the Bay Area.
They can use our drop boxes, they can drop it in the mail, or they can go to one of our vote centers. We have about 230,000 votes in so far, representing a little over 20% of our voters.
I think we're doing the right thing by putting it to a vote versus what Texas is doing and they're just like passing it without letting the citizens vote whether they want it or not.
A new poll suggesting a majority of voters do support Prop 50. In a survey by the Public Policy Institute of California, 56% of likely voters said they support the measure to temporarily redraw California's congressional maps. 2/3 of voters also said the outcome of next week's special election is very important.
There is growing concern among some voters in rural communities statewide over Prop 50 ahead of next week's special election. The measure would temporarily give state lawmakers the power to redraw our state's congressional map. Opponents, including some farmers, warn the new maps would strip the political influence of rural populations.
This is one of the most blatant attacks on California's farming community that I can remember. That's why it's important to keep our communities of interest together with a strong, solid voice in Washington, D.C.
But Prop 50, it carves up rural counties like ours, forcing us into oversized districts mashed together with booming urban and suburban areas hundreds of miles away. Fewer chances to sit face to face, share our struggles, and build real understanding. That's not representation, that's isolation.
Prop 50 supporters argue the measure is necessary for fairer representation following national political changes. They point out that significantly more people live in California's urban areas than rural areas.
Time is 8:16, and we're seeing some improvement for that morning commute, and one of them is the Bay Bridge. It may not look that improved to you, but I can just tell the cars are moving faster. It's likely to have sped up the metering lights, and unless something happens, this should be much better as we get closer to 9. 880 northbound, this is a traditional slowdown getting up to downtown Oakland. Highway 4 is still pretty slow, and now it looks like westbound Highway 4 near Summersville, there's a wreck they're trying to take care of. 817. Let's go to Steve with today's weather.
Sal, we'll look ahead to tomorrow evening, except for maybe some low clouds. I think we're good to go here. Not scary Friday evening. Don't have to worry about rain. We have a beautiful forecast here. Sunset at 6:11, so 60s, 70s will give way to upper 50s and 60s as we go in. It'll be cool, but it should be okay. 64.55 for the city today, average 68.53. It's the rainfall, the record rainfall, 1.69 on this date in 1849. When did records begin in San Francisco? 1849. That's a long-standing record. The first year, 1849-1850, was a wet one. October 1849, over 3 inches of rain. November, 8.66. December 1849, over 6. January 1850 had over an 8 1/3. The rain year total was 33 plus. October to January had 26 1/3. March itself, 1850, added over 4 1/2. That was why it was so wet. What's ironic, though, is the following year, 1850-51, 7.42 total, making it the driest ever in San Francisco's history. So 1849-50 wet, 1850-51 dry. Yesterday was a lot of 80s. Santa Rosa 83, Napa, Concord, Livermore, Oakland, Redwood City, SFO 80 to 82 in the city. Hit 78. Today we'll go 64 in the city. San Rafael, Oakland, Menlo Park, Santa Clara, all at 82 yesterday. Today at 60s and 70s. Too much fog. Big fog bank in place there. Came roaring back. 50s on most of the temps now. A couple of 40s, but mainly 50s. A lot of fog being reported. 20s up in the mountains here. We'll see this system cool us down today. So today's a little cooler. We'll get a slight rebound on Friday, then a little bit more, I think, Saturday. More so on Sunday before we start to cool down. Remember, our clocks fall back, though, on Sunday. A lot going on up in the Pacific here, and forecast models continue to be remarkably consistent that rain returns for us a week from today, November 6th. We'll see if they hold on to that, but so far they're all saying it. A cool change today, so a lot of low clouds and fog. Those 80s are gone till maybe Sunday, maybe. There could be a couple of soft ones there, but 60s, 70s today, about the same tomorrow. Nice weekend, though, and then a little cooler early next week.
All right, Steve, thanks. All right, losing your phone will no longer mean losing your chats. The new WhatsApp feature promising to make restoring backups much easier.
Then we are so excited for next year's Fox Local Summer Zip Trip season. We are already asking you to weigh in on which city should make it to the final list. You have been so kind to tell us in person, send emails, notes on social media, and we have made it official. We are turning to you for a pitch about your hometown. Scan the QR code on your screen right now. You can send in photos or a video of why your city should be in next year's Fox Local Zip Trip lineup. Now, since we launched this just yesterday, we've already had a ton of great submissions. One from Jane, who writes in a pitch for St. Helena, calling it Napa Valley's Main Street. Then Dave said we should head to the Monterey Peninsula. He shared this photo of Fisherman's Wharf there in Monterey. Joe also wants us to head up to Napa here, as in addition to wineries, the Napa River, and the downtown district, he says it has the best weather, check. Gorgeous views, check, and hot air balloons that fill the sky every morning. Thank you for your submissions, and keep them coming. A groundbreaking for Good Samaritan Hospital's new patient center at its San Jose complex. The hospital is spending $1.3 billion on the project, the largest single investment in its history. The hospital will feature a new ER and operating room, 234 patient beds. There will also be expanded surgical and diagnostic areas with state-of-the-art technology.
What was shine through for me in my visits here with my family has been the passion that the team here has for delivering high quality, compassionate care for those who come in and in those vulnerable moments.
The hospital CEO says the new tower will also meet stringent seismic standards to better allow it to keep operating after a major earthquake. Construction is set to be complete in 2032.
24 minutes after 8, are you ready for a robot to help you fold your laundry?
All right, Pam Cook is back upstairs to share this new technology and take a look at what's happening on Wall Street in dollars and cents.
All talking about this
Aren't we?
morning, right? This robot. We're going to talk about that and show you in just a second. The tech rally turned into a tech drop led by Microsoft and Meta. Both companies posted disappointing quarterly earnings, and analysts posted concerns about spending on AI. As the opening bell rang this morning, shares in Chipotle also dropped almost 16% after reporting a drop in sales. Its competitors, Sweetgreens and Cava, have also dropped this year as more people are opting to eat at home to save money as inflation continues to hurt families across the country. All right, as we take a live look at the numbers, again, all three indexes dropped initially when the opening bell rang this morning. The NASDAQ down 200 points, the S&P 500 down about 0.25%, 16 points there. But it looks like as money is moving from tech stocks maybe into some of those blue chip stocks on the Dow Jones, because that index up 0.75%, gaining 356 points. So the only upside there is the Dow. WhatsApp is making it easier to keep your chats private. The company is adding passkeys in its encryption locks. That means you can use your fingerprint, your face, or screen lock code to encrypt your chats instead of memorizing a long password or code. WhatsApp is owned by Meta, which has been working on increasing security for users. The feature will be rolled out over the next few weeks. Great news for gamers. Nintendo is updating its popular video game Animal Crossing New Horizons. The first version came out at the start of the pandemic in 2020. Nintendo's planning a new release of the game in January for the Switch 2 handheld console. Upgrades include higher resolution and adding up to 12 players at the same time on the online game. Players will also see a new resort and other new options for their island and their animals. And Palo Alto-based robotics company 1X launched a home robot this week, and you can order it now. 1X says its robot Neo is the world's first consumer-ready humanoid robot. Take a look. It's designed to automate everyday chores with the touch of a button. It can fold laundry, organize shelves, tidy up a bit. Pre-orders are available now. The first deliveries are scheduled for next year. Now, the robots cost $20,000 to own outright, but there is a subscription model as well for $500 a month. So it's not cheap. It's certainly interesting. And this morning we are asking you, would you trust a robot in your home to do your chores? Your options: yes, sign me up, or no, too creepy. It looks like we're about half and half. Weigh in. Just head to KTVU.com/vote. Very interesting that it's mixed this morning. I'm Pam Cook. That's a look at your dollars and cents.
Pam, thank you. 8:27 here. A theft of Amazon items that goes way beyond stealing something off a porch. How the business owner helped solve this heist, and why detectives say the thieves knew exactly what they were doing.
An FBI raid targeting gang members in an East Bay neighborhood, what they're accused of, and how many arrests were made.
500,000 people here in the Bay Area alone could lose their federal food assistance benefits this Saturday. Now, people who are able to help are banding together. How an East Bay nonprofit is dramatically ramping up its efforts. Then as Hurricane Melissa takes aim at the Bahamas, we're getting a much clearer picture of the devastation left behind in Jamaica. Hear from people who survived the storm but say they don't know where to start.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Good morning and welcome back. I'm Garcia Michaelian.
I'm Andre Sr. It's Thursday, October 30th, the day before the kids head out for Halloween. And while it might look gloomy outside today, that might not be the case tomorrow. Let's check in with Steve Paulson right now for more on that.
Well, we'll look ahead to tomorrow night. Pressure you two put on me.
You can handle it.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
All right. I think it'll be a beautiful forecast for you. There you go. Sunset 6:11. So let's go 6, 8, and 10. Not scary. Now, it could be a little cool, but that's all right. And there could be, if you're near the coast, some little clouds. But overall, what you're saying, is it going to rain? No, it's not going to rain. Today, we have a lot of low clouds. Yesterday, the coast was clear. Today, that's not the case, and it'll be cooler and breezy today. Plenty of low clouds, some mist drizzle out there as well. 50s on the temps here. Temperatures a little on the cool side. San Rafael, Oakland, Menlo Park, and Santa Clara yesterday all checked in at 82. Not today. It'll be 60s and 70s. We see these temps drop. And by tomorrow, we'll start a slow rebound. But it's a cool change for today. No doubt about it compared to yesterday. So look for breezy, cooler conditions. A lot of fog this morning here. We'll end up with 60s, mainly low 70s. All right. Sal's here. My gosh, we can go to the Dumbarton. We can go to the San Mateo. We can go to the Bay Bridge. We're going where?
Well, Steve, I have to tell you, now that my life feels so prearranged, I'm ready for that cool change.
Okay. Good
There
one,
you go.
Sal.
We're going to the East Bay. Westbound Highway 4 still slow at this relatively late hour of the commute. And we have the Dumbarton Bridge, the San Mateo Bridge getting a little bit better. But they have been slow all morning long, a little slower than I like to see it. 880 is slow now out of Union City heading down to Milpitas, and 680 on the Sunol grade still slow, although you're beginning to definitely see some improvement on some of these commutes. The Richmond Bridge, it's not completely light, but things are getting better there. And things are moving a little bit better at the Bay Bridge. We're seeing some improvement. For example, you can see that ramp coming from 880 is now cleaning itself out. There you can see there's not a big backup. So the next step is we're going to see lighter commute. 8:32. Let's go back to the desk.
Sal, thank you much. Millions of Americans are another day closer to losing their food assistance benefits. One Bay Area nonprofit says now is the time to step up and help people who depend on SNAP and CalFresh programs.
KTVU's James Torres live in Concord here to tell us about a program that's now in effect to keep all those families afloat. James.
Hey, good morning. Concord is home to the headquarters of the White Pony Express. You see the van behind me here that reads, "Fighting food waste, hunger, and poverty in one delivery." They're a nonprofit food recovery group now launching an effort, a much larger effort, to help feed people in Contra Costa County who are most in need. We're talking about the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. We've mentioned it all week to you. It helps roughly 5.5 million people in California pay for their groceries. In the state, that program is called CalFresh. If the government shutdown continues through the weekend, federal funding for those programs will run out. White Pony Express gets to step in. They say they are making sure the impacts to the people in the East Bay are kept to a minimum. The nonprofit announced a countywide food drive from now in effect until the end of the month, rather, I should say the end of November. They say it's meant to support neighbors affected by the suspension of CalFresh. It's the latest of a number of Bay Area cities and organizations trying to mitigate the effects of the government shutdown. In San Francisco, for example, the city announced it would cover the cost of SNAP benefits for people who need it for the month of November. At last check, there still seems to be no compromise between lawmakers and Congress, therefore no end in sight for the government shutdown. Those SNAP and CalFresh benefits will begin to lapse this weekend. We're live this morning in Concord. I'm James Torres, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
James, thank you. San Franciscans who rely on federal food aid are being reassured they'll still get their benefits. Mayor Daniel Lurie announced the city's partnering with a local nonprofit to set aside $18 million for people who use SNAP or CalFresh benefits. Recipients will receive a letter next week on how to access a digital or prepaid card that they can then use to buy groceries.
What we've done is basically created a replacement card program. So they will receive a letter in the mail from the Human Services Agency that says that this is your replacement benefit for CalFresh for the month of November.
The cards will only cover the month of November. It is hoped the government shutdown will end by December and benefits will be restored. 112,000 people in San Francisco rely on that food assistance. More than half are children or seniors.
Well, new this morning, Oakland Mayor Barbara Lee is receiving broad support for her performance at the helm of City Hall. This morning, the Oakland Metro Chamber of Commerce revealed new polling data showing 61% of voters approve of her performance. This is in stark contrast to other city leaders. Now, the city council only registered a 27% approval rating. The survey shows people are also feeling more optimistic about crime and public safety under Mayor Lee's leadership. Voters still back more anti-crime measures in the city, such as more police and surveillance cameras.
We're getting new insight into San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie's recent conversation with President Trump that led the president to call off operations with the National Guard in the city. The mayor spoke at the last day of the TechCrunch Disrupt conference. He was asked about emerging technology and other issues, including that phone call with the president. He said he didn't promise anything in return.
People know that the president has a proclivity for deal making, and they wonder if you had to make any concession.
No, he absolutely not. No ask. He said in his post that he disagreed with calling off, but he was going to give us an opportunity, and we're going to be able to prove that we can take care of ourselves.
Mayor Lurie said he told the president San Francisco is on the rise and cited the TechCrunch conference as one example. Early morning raids in Oakland targeted several suspected gang members wanted for crimes that range from drug and weapons charges to homicide.
The FBI says it made 6 arrests earlier yesterday morning. By the afternoon, 9 men had been indicted on federal charges. Our crew was there as FBI agents swarmed an apartment complex in Oakland's Upper Diamond neighborhood. They spent time going through multiple vehicles parked on Colma Street as well. The FBI says it made at least 1 arrest at this location. In all, they say they arrested 6 people in Oakland yesterday. It's part of a federal racketeering crackdown targeting the gang. The 9 men who were indicted are linked to 2 homicides dating back to 2019, as well as 3 attempted homicides, attempted robbery, and drugs and weapons trafficking. We talked to a legal expert who told us because these men are facing federal charges, the stakes are much higher.
It's not state time because this is a task force type approach. They have been charged federally. They'll be doing federal time. And so it really is a serious matter. In this case, they will do the bulk of the time in a federal prison. And that federal prison may not be local.
KTVU learned one of the defendants was already in custody and charged with a separate murder for allegedly shooting his girlfriend while she was sleeping with her young child. In all, 8 of the 9 men are now behind bars, while 1 is still on the run. Oakland police are also on the scene of the Upper Diamond neighborhood yesterday. The department plans to discuss the arrest later today. In their release, they say the gang members arrested may be linked to as many as 24 homicides.
Northern California investigators recovered nearly $500,000 worth of stolen Amazon items. Hundreds of items, including speakers and audio systems, were stolen out of a truck heading to California from the East Coast. The vendor who sold the equipment says he went online and discovered somebody else was selling his product on eBay. Detectives obtained several search warrants for a property in Turlock and 2 others in Modesto, leading to 2 arrests.
To have the right equipment to be able to move pallets from one truck or move it off the truck. So again, that shows the level of sophistication that was used by these criminals. Our detectives do believe this might be related to maybe some organized crime type of operation. It's not every day that somebody, has a whole truckload of merchandise that just ends up missing.
Detectives say they're still trying to track down about $100,000 worth of missing goods and say there may be other victims and thieves out there.
Our time now is 8:39. Not Hurricane Melissa. More than 24 people are dead and others still missing across Cuba Haiti, and Jamaica after the storm tore through the Caribbean. In Cuba, officials say the storm has left a trail of destruction, tearing roofs off buildings, collapsing houses, and blocking critical mountain roads with debris and landslides. As the storm made landfall, about 250,000 people went to government-run evacuation centers across the island of Jamaica for safety.
In Jamaica, more than half the island remains without power following Hurricane Melissa. The storm made landfall Tuesday as a Category 5 before hitting Cuba yesterday as a Category 3. Thousands of homes across Jamaica have been left with serious damage.
Individuals have lost total of every single thing.
It's a wreck. A lot of houses been wrecked. A lot of family been outside, nowhere to sleep, no food to eat. We just hope and pray for the best.
In Haiti, officials say rushing waters from an overflowing river killed more than 24 people, and that the number could rise in the coming days.
Well, trick-or-treating without the sugar lump. We get expert tips about how to save kids from headaches and mute swings on Halloween.
(8:43), some of the stories we're following today. President Trump is touting what he calls a successful meeting with China's President Xi Jinping. They met for several hours at the Economic Summit in South Korea. President Trump says the two world leaders made several deals. This includes China agreeing to buy American soybeans and lowering tariffs that were implemented earlier in the year. The government shutdown continues here, still no end in sight. Democrats are still holding out for a deal that extends Affordable Care Act subsidies. Republican lawmakers say President Trump is willing to sit down next week with Democrats to talk about health care, but only if Democrats vote to reopen the government. An RV parking ban is looming in San Francisco. Starting this Saturday, RVs parked on streets for more than 2 hours could be towed. Meanwhile, the city established a permit program for people living in their RVs. They can apply for a large vehicle refuge permit, which allows them to temporarily park in the city while being connected to more permanent housing. Only people who were part of a count done by city staff back in May are eligible for those permits.
All right, it's 8:45. Tomorrow, children across the country will take part in trick-or-treating. Of course, all that candy comes with a whole lot of sugar, and a big part of the appeal of trick-or-treating is getting that sugar, but that sugar can cause issues for kids. Rich Rasgatis is here now. He's a national hydration and water expert, here to talk about how to curb the negative effects on kids' bodies. Of course, this is the big thing, you know, you could not wait till Halloween because you knew you were going to get all that great candy. How much sugar are kids ingesting around Halloween time for trick-or-treating?
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as much as when we were kids and probably amplified a little bit. So the average kid in Halloween tomorrow night is going to ingest around 3 cups of sugar. That is 16 times the recommended daily allowance. Wow. So, I'm kind of a little hesitant to be the guy coming in talking about water and hydration on Halloween, but it's a really important subject because the vast majority of Americans, including kids, are chronically dehydrated, and this can actually help a lot, prevent a lot of crashes and whatnot.
Well, it sounds, if you want to keep eating your candy, you drink your water. I mean, that's a good little thing to go along with it, I suppose, if you balance it both.
Gamify it with your kids. Exactly. So you have a piece of candy, have some water. Have a piece of candy, have some water.
So what is it doing to their bodies? You say it leads to dehydration, but talk a little bit about how that all works.
Well, there's actually kind of 2 components that are happening. One is that chronic dehydration leads to sugar and food cravings. So one of the reasons that we actually crave food and sugar and we binge eat, including kids as well, is because we're in a chronically dehydrated state. So simply by properly hydrating at the start of the day, throughout the day, on Halloween night, tomorrow night, but also just throughout the year, you're actually going to prevent a lot of that. And then it'll also prevent a lot of the crashes as well. So hydration is the hack to be able to feel better, sleep better, eat better.
So it sounds like a cycle. It sounds like you're going through a cycle.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And they end up like counter affecting each other, and one leads to another and another and another. And so solving the hydration problem solves a good portion of that. And then also if you just drink prior to trick-or-treating, like as you're putting the outfits on, moms and dads, make sure your kids have a big glass of water, and that'll just help blunt some of the effects of sugar.
Gotcha.
And make for a more seamless, calm evening.
Yeah, so if you're a parent, this is actually a good tip for you because then you don't have to deal with a child who's, got the sugar rush going, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're all going to be amped like 9 o'clock tomorrow night. And so for those of us that are parents, I'm one. For those of us that want to have a little bit more of a calm and peaceful 9 to 11 p.m. and a good bedtime, just making sure, it's a simple thing, right? Like go to 2 houses, have some water, have a piece of candy, have some water, start the night, drink some water. And it's also just a good cycle for us to be able to kind of program our kids to good behaviors.
That was my next point here. I mean, if you start at that age, it's just good for them. It's something they keep doing throughout their life. If it's just a matter of part of life, a part
100%.
of everything that you do.
I mean, that's like probably one of the biggest problems that we have is that we start and develop these bad behaviors or lack.
Early,
yeah, exactly. So if we get them early on, so tomorrow's kind of a fun night to start.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point here. Tell us about the rule of 8 as a good reminder for families. Here.
Young kids, 8 sips a day. So small sip, 8 sips a day, right? And so just get them started early. If you're an adult, you should probably be drinking about half your body weight in ounces in water. So if you're 200 pounds, drinking about 100 ounces of water a day, that's around 3 liters. That's a good measurement. But just getting little kids started and then
small sips.
Yeah.
Because my mom always told me you had to have, I forget what the amount was, but you had to drink these giant, water every day, and I'm like, well, that's a lot of water. But if you start with the sips,
a little throughout the day, and ideally not when you're eating, right? So like you want your stomach acids as you're eating to like do their job. So the best time to drink water is when you're not eating.
It's between meals.
It is between meals.
Okay, all right, good. It's good for adults too. This information you have. Rich Rasgatis, thank you so much for joining us today and providing this information because I know we're focusing on kids and the sugar in their body, but adults can also learn a thing or two about this for sure. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Cassia?
All right. Here in Oakland, the mayor, Barbara Lee, is launching a series of forums in which residents can share ideas on how to improve the city. The goal is to get feedback on the current power structure of city leadership and whether Oaklanders want to amend the city charter, which outlines the power and role of the mayor, city manager, and council members. If it turns out residents want a change, the mayor will create an advisory group to draft a 2026 ballot measure to reflect a proposal.
Want a hybrid that currently exists for the charter where the mayor and the council have separation of powers, but they're kind of blend and nobody really in charge, or to have a strong form of mayor government, or to have a city council mayor council with a city administrator form of government.
There are 7 more listening sessions planned across Oakland. The next one set for Wednesday night at St. Mary's Center on San Pablo Avenue with Councilmember Carol Fife. Happening today, a change that means automatic work permit extensions for certain immigrants are no longer available. The Department of Homeland Security says the new rule aims to prevent fraud. Immigrant rights advocates warn it'll force many out of the workforce due to backlogs.
Well, I think the immediate impact will be that if a person's work permit lapses and they don't any longer have the benefit of this 540-day extension, they will not be able to work. Prior to the implementation of this rule, individuals who filed for their work permits were still able to work legally for an additional 540 days until they waited for the Immigration Service to approve their work card.
The attorney also said those who need to renew their work permit should pay very close attention to its expiration date and renew it not later than its final day.
The Federal Reserve announced an interest rate cut of 0.25%. That means rates will be at the lowest point in 3 years. Consumers are hoping for another rate cut at the board's next meeting, but right now, Fed Chair Jerome Powell says he is not sure if that will happen.
In the committee's discussions at this meeting, there were strongly differing views about how to proceed in December. A further reduction in the policy rate at the December meeting is not a foregone conclusion. Far from it.
One thing that we're starting to sense from the central bank is some nervousness about whether this inflation rate is going to come down anytime soon.
Economists say the Fed is dealing with a difficult situation. Its job is to keep inflation in check while maximizing employment. But inflation has picked up in recent months, and hiring that has slowed down.
Time is 8:51. Just as I suspected when I told you a half hour ago that the bridge would get better, well, the Bay Bridge is better. And I could tell because traffic was moving efficiently. So now you might want to get out there. Things are loosening up, although there's still some slowing out there. Highway 4 is still pretty slow coming out of Bay Point into Pittsburgh, or coming out of Pittsburgh into Bay Point and Concord. And finally, some improvement, although the Dumbarton and the San Mateo Bridge are still pretty busy. 8:51. Let's talk to Steve with today's weather.
Sally, a big fog bank has returned after being clear yesterday, so we're seeing 40s and 50s, mainly 50s now, but kind of stuck due to the cloud cover here, and that's going to equal a big cool down. Lots of 80s yesterday, including San Rafael, Oakland, Menlo Park, Santa Clara, all checking in at 82, 60s and 70s today. A big drop here, a lot of these temps. The city hit 78. I'm only going 64 today. The main message here is that record rainfall, 1.69. in 1849. I mean, that's when records began in San Francisco, was 1849. You can see the low clouds screaming back to the coast for that system to the north. So we had the warm up yesterday. We'll get a little cool down today, and then kind of level it off into Friday, Saturday. I mean, I think we'll get more 70s. Could hit an 80 by the time. Oh, that's missing a lot of data, but I think we could hit 80 on Sunday. But it sure looks like forecast models a week from today keeps saying it wants to bring in some rain. So, we'll see, a week away, so a lot can change. We'll deal with it next week, but so far it looks like it's on track. It'll be a cool change today. Fog returns for many, maybe a little mist out there, otherwise breezy, cooler. Temperatures coming down, 60s and 70s.
All right, Steve, thank you so much. Halloween's biggest trick might be what it does to your teeth. When you join us on the 9, we'll talk with a dentist about which treats do the most damage and how you can help protect your kids' teeth without smashing the fun.
There's a regional effort underway to help stop illegal dumping in the Bay Area. State and local leaders held a meeting in Oakland to find ways of working together to address illegal dumping. They released a report on solutions from a panel of experts. Alameda County Supervisor Nate Miley says while Oakland has long struggled with illegal dumping, it is a problem in other areas as well.
And illegal dumping, as Aaron said, has no bounds. You know, sometimes people just think it's concentrated in urban communities. No, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's in urban communities, suburban communities, rural communities.
The group said it's important to actually enforce existing dumping laws and use new camera technology to track down and find the people who do the illegal dumping.
Happening today, nurses at a hospital in San Ramon are set to hold a one-day strike. That strike at San Ramon Medical Center is part of a larger strike against 6 Tenet healthcare hospitals across the state. The nurses are protesting what they describe as a serious concern about safe staffing and patient care. Key demands include guaranteed break coverage, better recruitment and retention of experienced staff, and dedicated lift teams for patient safety. The hospital says it will remain fully operational during the strike. San Ramon Regional Medical Center sent us a statement. It reads in part, quote, "We are disappointed that the union is taking the strike action, which in our view is not constructive or necessary."
An animal rights activist has been found guilty of trespassing and conspiracy for taking 4 chickens from a North Bay animal processing plant. 23-year-old Zoe Rosenberg is an activist with the group Direct Action Everywhere. Prosecutors say she stole the chickens from Purdue Farms up in Petaluma in September of 2023 by dressing as a plant worker. She said the chickens at the plant are being abused. She faces more than 5 years in prison.
A new report says San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie's plan to rebuild more housing will not be enough to meet goals set by the state. The proposal would increase the allowed building heights on commercial streets and on transit lines. But a report from the city's Office of Economic Analysis says the rezoning plan would produce between 8,500 and 15,000 homes, which is less than half of the 36,000 the state requires San Francisco to build by 2031. The mayor's press office released a statement saying too many parents are already afraid their kids won't be able to afford to live in San Francisco. Mayor Lurie's family zoning plan will help build the housing we need and meet our obligations under state law. We just need to get it done.
Another grocery delivery service is stepping in to help people who are expected to lose their federal food assistance on Saturday. GoPuff is offering SNAP recipients $50 off groceries through the month of November in the form of 2 separate $25 off promotions. Users must link a SNAP EBT card to their GoPuff account before checkout, then add the code SNAPRelief1 to their card.
California State Capitol Christmas tree made its way to Sacramento. The Sacramento Bee says the 60-foot tall tree came from a forest near Redding. Over the next several days, the Department of General Services will trim it up and get it ready to be decorated with more than 200 ornaments. A new quiet supersonic jet designed to revolutionize air travel successfully completed its first test flight. The $500 million aircraft was built by Lockheed Martin for NASA. It can eventually reach a cruising speed of 925 miles per hour at an altitude of 55,000 feet. The program is being closely watched by the commercial airline industry, which is hoping to have a high-speed aircraft that drastically cut travel times. You are watching Mornings on 2. We'll be right back in just